Today on Capechi's Corner, we're going to talk about numerical expressions. Now, when we're looking at expressions, remember the biggest thing about expressions is there is not an equal sign. So when we're discussing a numerical expression, we're talking about something that includes only numbers and math operations. So here's an example that I give you. 3 times 6 plus 3 to the power of 4 is a numerical expression. Now, when I'm looking at the exponent and base, we're going to talk about that together. That's probably something you've seen before. The bigger number is considered the base, and the number raised, that power we sometimes call it, is the exponent. Now, when we see the word evaluate, the word evaluate means to give something a value or a number. Like if I say evaluates an expression and the value comes out to be 7, that's the value that we're assigning, which we're going to explore a little bit in this lesson. Now, order of operations is something that you've probably seen throughout your math career, even though you're just entering Algebra 1 here. So we say PEMDAS. I know some people used a little bit different letters there, but PEMDAS or parentheses is first, or grouping symbols. So parentheses, or it could be grouping symbols like brackets or absolute value bars, anything that groups values together. Then we do exponents are next. And then multiply and divide, they go together from left to right. We do that before we do the last set of operations, which is adding and subtracting, which again, we go left to right. Okay, so let's get into the lesson now. So here we say in example 1, translate the verbal expression into a numerical expression. So 1 plus 8. So let's do this. 1 plus 8 divided by 3. Okay, now, one thing I like to do with these is I like to read them back just to make sure I'm okay. I won't do this in any example, but we'll start with that. 1 plus 8 divided by 3. That looks good. Okay, let's go on to the next one. The sum of, so now we know we're going to add something together. 5 and 9. The sum of 5 and 9 divided by 2. Or sometimes you can see that the sum of 5 plus 9 divided by 2. Either way is okay. All right, let's try one. Translate the verbal, right? Verbal means word, expression into a numerical expression. So 7 times, I like to use a dot. You can use parentheses if you want, or an X, but sometimes X we think that's a variable. 7 times 15 minus 2 times 9. All right, let's get into some word problems here. Example 2, a person's handicap in bowling is usually found by subtracting the person's average from 200, multiplying by 2, and divided by 3. Okay, there's a lot going on, so let's back up. Marley's bowling average is 170, so we're going to start with that. A person's handicap in bowling is usually found by subtracting the average from 200. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to group that together because I'm going to do that first. Multiplying it by 2. So again, I'm going to use a dot. And then dividing by 3. Okay, here's some more translations from verbal to numerical. To convert a temperature in degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit, multiply the temperature in degrees Celsius by 9, divide by 5, and add 32. Write a numerical expression. So we know what we're looking for. We're not looking for an answer or a value, just the expressions, just the computations. To convert 37 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's go back and see what it says. Multiply the temperature in degrees Celsius by 9. So this time I decided to use a set of parentheses. Then I'm going to divide by 5, and I'm going to add 32. Okay, we're going to evaluate. In example 3, we're going to evaluate. Remember we talked about evaluate means give something a value. Give a value, which is a number. So we want our answer is going to be a number. Okay? So we have order of operations. We need to do our grouping symbols first. So I'm going to just rewrite that 15 just so we don't forget about it. And then I do have some other grouping symbols in there. So I'm going to take 3 minus 2, which is 1 squared. Continue that. Okay, so we still have my grouping symbols, but within my grouping symbols, I also have a power. So 1 squared is 1 times 6. All right, I'm going to keep going. 15 minus, now my grouping symbols here, multiplication and division comes before addition and subtraction, right? So I'm going to put 10 plus 6. So now I can go left to right. 10 plus 6 gives me 16. 15 minus 16 gives me negative 1. So that's my final answer. That's my value. Okay, let's try some. In letter A, again, I don't have any grouping symbols, but I do have that power, that exponent. So I'm going to have to work with that first. So I get 20 minus 7 plus 64 minus 7 times 11. Okay, so now I see that I have subtraction, addition, and I need to make sure I do my multiplication first. So I'm just going to rewrite this. 20 minus 7 plus 64 minus 7 times 11 is 77. Now I can go left to right. So depending if your teacher lets you use your calculator, you can just put all of this in your calculator left to right. I will just kind of continue to go left to right. So I have 13 plus 64 minus 77. And when I go from there, this gives me 77 minus 77. So my final answer there is 0. So don't be afraid of the 0, right? 0 is a number. That's okay. All right, let's look at our next example. We're going to do our grouping symbols. And again, that dividing line, right? That's like division. So I'm going to first work on my top. I have 4 plus 5 gives me 9, and that's squared. On the bottom, I have 3. There's my grouping symbols again. 7 minus 4 gives me 3. My numerator is a power. So 9 squared is 81. On the denominator, I have multiplication. That gives me 9. So my final answer there is going to be 9. Okay, let's look at the next example. We have a chart here. There's a lot of information, so I think it's always a good idea. I think the reason that students get overwhelmed with word problems is they just try to do too much too quickly. You just have to slow down. In the end, you'll get to your answer quickly and more accurately, and definitely with more confidence. So Thursdays are student days at LSC Theater. Students' tickets are just $5, right? So we know that student tickets are $5. Popcorn refills are free. That sounds great. You will buy a ticket. So you're going to buy a ticket and a 20-ounce bottle of water, and you will split the cost of a large tub of popcorn and a large candy with a friend. We have a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so how much money should you bring? So let's figure out what we're buying. Well, we're going to buy a ticket first, right? The ticket first is $5. And then we are going to buy a 20-ounce bottle of water. So 20-ounce water. Let's see how much that is. So we found our ticket, and our 20-ounce drink is $5. Now we're going to split, right? We're going to split candy and a large tub of popcorn with a friend. So we're only going to pay half of that. So I'm going to kind of do a grouping symbol there. All right. And so then we have a large tub of popcorn there is $7.50. And then we have to worry about our candy too, right? So our candy is $3.50. Right? So now I can just double check, right? So this is my candy, and this is my popcorn. And normally I would tell my students to go back and read that, make sure we're okay. All right, so let's just start adding that together, right? So we have ticket and 20-ounce bottle of water is $10. And then half, this is going to give us $11, right? When we add $7.50 and $3.50. And then when I combine all of that, right, this is going to be half of $11 is $5.50. So I need to bring $15.50. All right, just make sure that looks like a 5 there. Okay, let's try our last one. While she was on a 7-day vacation, Miss Hernandez boarded her dog at a kennel. If her boarding budget is $250, can Miss Hernandez afford a daily extra walk and one wash and a nail trimming? Okay, so she's like, I'm going on vacation. I only want to spend $250 on boarding my dog. So let's figure out what's going on. So again, let's figure out in words, right, what we got to do. 7 days of boarding, right? The other thing, we're just wondering if we have an extra walk. And that's going to be 7 of them, right? Because that's daily. That's daily means every day, right? One wash. Not just going to be one. And then one nail trimming. And that's going to be 1 as well. All right, let's see how much all this is going to work out to be. So boarding, we have $24 a day for 7 days. Plus the extra walk is $4 a day for 7 days. The wash is going to be $45. And the nail trimming is going to be $12. All right, so this gives me, when I multiply that, that gives me 168 plus 28. Again, this is plus 45 plus 12. Now, when I add all of these together, that gives me $253. But I'm not done, right? I'm like, oh, that's great, $253, because that's not what the question says. The question doesn't say how much does it cost. It says, can she afford it, right? Can she afford it? Well, the answer to that question is no, okay? She can't afford it. And why is that? Because it's greater than $250, greater than her $250 budget. So again, it's always important in word problems, go back and make sure you're answering their question that they're asking. Okay? Thanks for stopping by today, and I hope you have a great day.